Right, all right. Today we'll see the security framework. Last class we have completed up to SSL configuration, right?
Yes, sir.
Today we'll see the security framework. In this sense, request after reach to the WLS, then what are the security parameters we need to be take. Then after that, let's we see the node manager. So these two concepts we'll able to see, small concepts actually. Let's we see the first security framework, and then after that, let us will able to see that node manager actually. Okay.
Mm.
Right, all right. So what is the security framework? Let's say need to be start the server. Hello. Right, all right. So let's we see the security framework. Generally, what we need to able, what we can able to do after WebLogic server, reach the request to the WebLogic server. Generally, let's we see what are the security parameters we can able to configure to protecting the WebLogic server resources. So the first one, what is the security realm? Generally, security realm is nothing but it is a collection of system resources and security providers. Otherwise, generally, whenever you install the WebLogic server, generally by default, which will may have the one security realm. So if you want, you can configure more than one security realm, but only one realm it is going to be active at the same time. So let's we see in other way what is the security realm. It is a container for the mechanism, including the users, groups, security roles, and security policies, and security providers generally that are used to protect the WebLogic server resources. That is about the security realm. Let's we see what is the architecture of the security realm generally. This is architecture of the security realm generally, So what it has going to be doing, it has going to be protecting the WebLogic server resources. What are the WebLogic server resources? Just like clusters, JDBC, JMS, and application, and all those are called the WebLogic server resources, which are going to be protecting those WebLogic server resources by using these default roles, groups, and as well as policies, and as well as security provider data. All these security realms, all these information, all these mechanisms actually, which is used to protecting the WebLogic server resources. Let's we see one by one. So generally, what is the security model options for the applications? Generally, there are following security model options which are available. Default deployment descriptor only, in the sense DD only. So generally what will happen, you can define the users, roles, and as well as the policies under these XML files, generally web.xml file and weblogic.xml file. And security checks performed, generally what it has going to be doing, it has going to check the requested URLs like UJB methods and projected by the policy in the deployment descriptor. In the sense, for protecting the URLs, we are going to be configuring the security under these XML files. And custom roles, generally, So generally by using these security models, which we can able to, role mappings from the role mapping provider that you can configure for the security realm. Generally, the security request URL or EJB methods that are protected by the policy in the deployment descriptor, and custom roles and policies generally role mapping and authorization from the providers that you configure for the security realm. For all URLs and EJB methods in the application, it is going to be protecting. Advanced means generally what will happen. So for example, if you configure in the test environment, no need to be configuring the production environment. You need to be export from here to production environment. In the sense, whenever it required, you can import and export the security data from deployment descriptors into the security provider database to the provider baseline. This is configurable. Let's we see what are the options which are available here. Go to the security realms and click on my realm. So under this, which are going to be available, the security model by default actually. CC, this is a DD only, that is by default, and custom roles and policies and advanced. Specify the default, security models generally for the web application or EGB that are secured by the security realm generally. We can override on the default during deployments generally. And that is what actually about the security models defaults. This is about the security models generally. Those are default security models, and this is what default model for the security. Then what is the role and how you are able to configuring? So generally a role is refers to the set of users who are having the same permissions. That is called role. Generally role is different and group is different. Role is generally it is nothing but what, a condition. Group is nothing but it is a static membership. Example, whenever you are working in some company, the somebody will ask you what is your role in your project. In the sense condition, what's your state actually in your project? What kind of roles do you have in your project? So that is about the role actually. How you can able to configure the role. Before we are moving into that, there are two kinds of roles here. We have global roles and scope roles. Global roles means generally which are available by default, at the domain level. Scope roles means which are available to the specific WebLogic server instance, in the sense application level. Those are all types of the roles. How you can able to configure, log into the admin console, click on the HCL domain and click on the security and click on the roles and click on new, provide the role name. So whatever you are configuring under this, which we are going to be configuring, are applicable to the entire domain, and click on OK. So in this way you can able to configure the domain, role. So then after that, let's we see what is the policy generally. Policy is nothing but generally it specifies generally which user, which group or which role can access the resources under a set of conditions generally. Example, whenever you want to apply any loan. So what is the role over there? Your salary greater than 40 or 50,000. Generally, you are eligible to you are eligible for applying the loan. What is that condition generally? The salary should be less than or greater than 50,000. Less than means you are not allowed to apply the loan. You are not eligible for applying that loan. That is its policy. That policy is nothing but generally it specifies which user, which group and roles can access the resources under a set of conditions. That is what policy. Let's we see how you can able to configure. You can add the policy, you can remove the policy, you can combine the policy, and you can move the policy. So according to the requirement, you can able to do that policy generally. So click on this actually domain and click on the security, and so click on the rules, and we have configured the rules, and click on the policies. See, you can add condition, you can combine, you can uncombine, you can move up, you can move down and remove all those which we can able to do so by using this policies tab, and click on add condition. Go to there. I already told you which user, which role, which group can access the some set of conditions or set of under the set of specified conditions, and click on next, and you can add the condition and click on finish button. In this way you can able to you know configure the roles and as well as policies. Generally once we will complete the roles and policies, let's we see how the policy is going to be grant access to the resources generally. Let's we go to here. So these are, see, groups is nothing but some set of users, we can call it as a group, right? Some set of users which comes under the group. All these are generally ready for accessing the application. Whenever they'll raise the request in the first step, so role statement, role condition, it has going to be checks about those users generally, whether those users has the ability or not to access the to access that some application, whatever it's requested actually. If it is yes, it is going to be forwarded to the security realm. In the sense, it is going to be checks about that, roles. What kind of role do you have? Based on that, it is going to be allows and to forwarding to the policy statement. Under the policy statement, generally it is going to be meets some set of conditions, specified conditions generally. Then after that, it is going to be forwarding to here security realm, which is going to be allows to access the WebLogic server resources. In this way, and you can able to grant the policies access to the resources generally. How the WebLogic server resources are going to be protected? This is what actually process. Let's we see the example. These are the different users generally. They raise the request, and under this actually policy content, it is going to be checks about the these users only, whether they are having the accessible capability or not. If yes, they can forward it to the role mapping. Here what will happen, security role. Based on your role, it is going to be checks and forwarding to this here policy statement too. And generally which is going to be test some policy statements. If it is generally satisfies those set of statements generally, what will happen? So click on yes, and it is going to be allows to protect the WebLogic server resources. So in this way, generally, it is going to be access the WebLogic server resources generally. So this is how you are going to be protecting the WebLogic server resources in the WebLogic server. Generally, what is the security role and what is the security policy? Security role is nothing but what it is an identity grant to the users or groups based on the specific conditions. Security role is nothing but what generally that is what actually security policies means. Generally it consists one or more users or more policy conditions which specify the circumstances under which a particular security role should be granted access to the WebLogic server resources. In the sense, policy is nothing but some rule or condition that are used that generally that users or groups must be granted or denied based on the authorization and implement the parameterized authorizations. That is about the security policies and security roles. Important interview question. What are the default policies which are available in the WebLogic server to the WebLogic server resources? These are all the WebLogic server resources. And left side you may have the security policies. So important interview question. You just go through all these. What are the default security policies which are available under the WebLogic server? Those are all the default policies to the WebLogic server resources. Then after that, let's we see generally, so what are the default groups which are available in the WebLogic server? This is also another important interview question. Default roles or groups which are available in the WebLogic server. Administrators, deployers, operators, monitors, app testers, and cross-domain connectors, and admin channel users, and anonymous. All these we can call it as, default groups which are available in the WebLogic server. After you create the WebLogic server, generally, which we can able to attach or which we can able to assign those users generally to these groups. If administrator assign, generally they are maybe have the administration roles. Monitor means only for monitoring purpose only. Let's we see then after that. That is about that while you are creating the user, you can come to know. And what is a JAS generally? Java Authentication and Authorization Services. So generally Java Authentication and Authorization Service, it is Java-based security framework. It is going to be allows or supports single sign-on and pluggable authentication module. JAS generally it is going to be supports users, groups, and roles. All those security policies which are going to be supports by using these Java Authentication and Authorization Services. So let's we see what are the real-time implementations we'll able to see here. What is a user and what is a group generally? User is nothing but what application end user or client applications or other WebLogic servers. And groups means set of users generally. They try to large number of users. They are also like users only, and this is also application users or end users also users and groups. Let's we see what are the real-time implementations. How you can able to create the user and how you can able to create the group and attach to the user. Then after that, how to unlock the user whenever user is going to be locked, and how to configure the embedded LAP. All three will able to see. First, how you can able to configure the user. Just go to over there. So click on the security realm. So click on my realm and click on users and groups. Click on new. Provide the username. So generally you can use whatever username you want. I'm just typing demo user one, and demo user one. This is my username actually. I created a user. Click on this username generally. Click on the groups whatever I explained till now, all the groups, admin channel users, administrators, app testers, and cross-domain connectors and deployers, monitors and operators, and all these we can call it as default groups. I'm selecting monitoring only for monitoring purpose and click on save button. So I have completed this part generally. Next, what I need to do after this, I just log out and I can check out whether the which user actually which is logged in. Go to here and logged in. See which is created successfully in the sense demo user one you are logged in, right? Username. See here what I have to do. I created this user only for monitoring. You cannot able to find any configurations here. No tabs which are available because I select the group actually for only monitoring purpose. Like this you can able to create the users depends on the requirement, either it may be for developers or either it may be for any other users also. And then after that, how you can able to unlock the user. Generally what is unlock and why we need to be unlock the user. What will happen in the unlock user generally, individual attempts generally to hack into the computer. Generally what will happen whenever you are giving the invalid username and password continuously for 5 times, such kind of users accounts generally locked out. So by default it has going to be 30 minutes it has going to be locks, and the such kind of users how you are going to be unlocks actually. So let's go to over there and click on this and click on the security, and click on provide the unlock user and provide the username and click on save button. So in this way you can unlock the user. So this is about how you are going to be unlock the user. So then after that, next what I need to do after unlock the user, generally what I need to do, what is the embedded I want to change actually 5 times to 3 times, and as well I need to change the thresholds also 5 times to 3 times. Go to here and click on the click on the user lockout. See lockout threshold generally 5 times, and lockout duration 30 minutes. If you want you can change according to the requirement. This is about how you are going to be fixing the user lockout issues. Next, what is the embedded LDAP and how you can able to configure. See by default generally embedded LDAP in the WebLogic server users, groups and authentication and authorization information which are going to be stored under the embedded LDAP server. By default which is going to be configured whenever you install the WebLogic server, and it will take the administrator password for authentication purpose. What we can able to configure credential, backup and cache settings and replication settings. All these are called LDAP server settings generally, embedded LDAP server. By default, whenever it configures, which is going to be displaying those properties actually. And you can edit according to the requirement. Then what is the LDAP actually? Embedded LDAP by default, which we will get actually. Instead of embedded LDAP, you can install the LDAP. LDAP means lightweight directory accessing protocol, which uses the default 389 protocol generally. So it is also similar like that. WebLogic users, groups, and as well as authorization information which is going to be stored under the LDAP server, generally which can work securely by using the SSL. Let's we see how we can able to configure the embedded LDAP. Go to here. So click on the domain name and click on the security and click on the embedded LDAP. See by default which is going to be takes administration password as the authentication purpose. Then after that we can able to configure all these properties depends on the requirement and click on save button. In this way, you can able to configure the security embedded in there. And click on here security realm. Click on my realm. We have completed users and groups and roles and policies. On credential mapping, you will get next. And click on migration generally. By using this tab, generally what we can able to do, which we can able to import and export the security related information. In the sense, from test environment to production environment, and from source environment to target environment, you can export and import the security related configuration by using the import and as well as the export tabs actually. This is about the migration tab. So once we will complete that migration tab, we may have the other one called providers. Under the security providers, you may have the following configurations to protect the WebLogic server resources. What are the security providers which are available generally to protecting the WebLogic server resources? Authentication provider, password validation provider, authorization provider, generally adjudication provider, and role mapping providers, and credential mapping, and certification path providers, and key store provider. All these are the generally certification providers. So let's we see how we can able to configure and what are those. Authentication provider generally which is going to be allows the WebLogic server to establish trust by validating the user. See, most of the applications which are enough the default configurations only. Whenever it required, you can able to configure it. So click on new and you can provide the default authentication name, and these are all the authentication types. Interview question. What are the default authentication types which are going to be supporting by the WebLogic server? You just go through all these and you can able to take. By default is SAM, Gel2 identity, etc. And click on OK. So then after that, what I need to do? So what is the password validation? This feature was introduced after WebLogic server 11G onwards in the WebLogic server 10G, which was not available. The password validation provider generally, which are going to be manages and enforce a set of configurable password composition rules. And click on new. And if you want, you can configure password validation also. Click on OK. Authorization provider generally, which can controls access to the WebLogic server resources based on the user identity or any other information. And now we can able to configure. Click on new, and you can provide the name. And these are all the default authorization types which are available in the WebLogic server. And click on OK. And next, adjudication provider. Generally, adjudication provider means it is going to be resolves authorization conflicts by weighing each authorization providers across decision and returning a final result. Generally, what will happen? Adjudication provider, it as going to be provides generally sometimes what will happen, same user may have the more than one authorization. That time, so by using this without getting the conflicts, which we can able to configure this one. We didn't configure actually whatever we have the default one, that only we will use. Role mapping generally, the role mapping providers which are going to be support the dynamic role association and by obtaining a computer set of security roles and granted to a requester for a given WebLogic server resources. Let's click on new and provide the name, and as well as these are all the two role mapping which are available. Click on OK. Auditing means name itself content. It is going to be collects and storing and distributing the information about all the operating request and outcome of the request. Click on new. Generally, how we can able to configure? Click on new. Provide the auditing name. Click on OK. Then credential mapping generally it is allows WebLogic server to log into the remote system on behalf of a subject that has already been authenticated. Then click on new. Generally provide the name and click on OK. In this way you can able to configure the credential mapping. Certification path generally, what is the certification path generally? Certification path provider, it has going to be completes and validates the certificate chains by using the trusted certificate authority based on the checking. By default, which was there, we'll be able to use that only. Key store generally, by using this mechanism, we can able to manage and store the private keys and as well as trusted certificate authorities. These are about the providers and its configurations. So these are the configurations we will be able to do at the security framework level. Understood? Hello? Right. So in this lesson, they are going to ask the following questions actually. What is the security realm? Generally, how you can able to configure, and what is the security role, security policy, and how you are going to be configuring. What are the types of security roles which are available? Generally, what is the user and group, and how you can able to configure those, and what is the embedded LDAP and LDAP, how you can able to configure it. Then whenever the user lockout, how you can able to do it. What is the security providers generally? What is authentication, authorization, password validation, auditing, adjudication, role mapping, credential mapping, certification path, and key stores and its configurations. All those questions they will ask to protecting the WebLogic server resources. So this completely completes about the WebLogic server security both at the network level and as well as at WebLogic level. Clear, right? Right. So then after completing this, we are moving into the other one called Node Manager generally. So Node Manager, which is used to monitoring the WebLogic server instances whenever it is going to be get fails, generally or automatically it is going to be restarts those manager server instances generally. So for that reason, which we can able to use the Node Manager. So let's we see that. So what we can able to see the Node Manager. Node Manager, it can be used to start, shut down and restart an administration server and manage server instances automatically whenever it is going to be get fails. It is going to be restarts automatically, and also it is going to be monitor the server instances and collects the logs data. That is about the generally Node Manager definition. Node Manager, it is not depend on the domain, which is depend on the specific mission. So generally what we can able to do, each mission generally one Node Manager is required. Generally what we can able to do, our domain is going to be distributed to the 3 or 4 machines. We need to be configured to the 3 or 4 node managers. Generally 4 machines means 4 node manager. Per machine, one node manager is required to monitor the all server instances in the machine. So that is about the node manager generally. Let's we see how we can able to start the administration server using the node manager, and as well as manage server instances, how you can restart and how you can stop that process. We'll able to see. See, for starting the administration server, you can connect that you will able to get the next WLST. So connect to the WLST and start the node manager and start the command to issue to start the administration server. The moment issue the command to start the administration server, node manager it is going to be contacting to the node manager. Node manager it is going to be asked the authentication purpose. It is going to be asks the username and password. Once it is obtained, it is going to be asked for the startup properties for the administration server. Then once it is completed, generally it is going to be creates the one process for the administration server. Administration server is running. Whenever you run the administration server, so indirectly you are running the domain only. Administration server obtains the entire domain configuration. In this way, you can able to start the node manager. Then after that, how the node manager is going to be starts the manager server instances generally, so there are two methods actually, from the admin console or from the WList you can able to start. The preferred method means admin console. Click on the servers and click on any one of the server. Go to the control. Go to the control and click on start. When it is possible actually, whenever you configure the node manager, then only it would be possible. So go to the admin console. Once you issue the command for starting actually manager server instance one, generally it is going to be contact to the admin server which is going to be contact to the node manager which is going to be asked the startup properties including the username and password for authenticates. Once it is provides, generally if it is okay, everything is okay, and which completes the handshake, generally it is going to be create the one process for the manager server instance. Then after that, generally what will happen, it is going to be obtains the configuration from the administration server. So manager server does not have the any configuration. Regarding its configuration, it needs to be contact again to the admin server which is going to send the configuration to the manager server. Generally it is going to be starts and it is going to be works like this. This is how node manager is going to be starts a manager server instance. Next we see whenever the problem occurs, how the admin server is going to be restarts using the node manager automatically. Node manager generally which decides to restart the administration server instance generally. That time what will happen, which requires actually remote remote server username and password. Once it is going to be verifies, it requires the startup properties for the administration server. So then after that, generally what will happen, once it is satisfies everything, it is going to be creates the administration server process, and administration server is running, and generally finally what will happen, then administration server obtaining the domain configuration. So this is about how the node manager is going to be restart the administration server whenever it get fails. How the node manager is going to be restart the manager server whenever it get fail. So generally node manager which decides to restart the manager server instance, that time what will happen, which is going to be asks the remote username and password for authenticating and including the startup properties about the manager server instance. Then what will happen, once it is obtained all those information, it is going to be create the one process for the manager server instance. Then manager server is running, but regarding its configuration, it does not have actually, which needs to be contact to the administration server which provide the configurations to the manager server, and it is going to be working on it, right? In this way, you can able to restart the manager server instance using the node manager. How you can able to set down the server instance using the node manager, go to the admin console, click on set down. It is going to be set down when it is possible, whenever you configure the node manager and added those servers to the node manager. And from the admin console, you are issued the command called shutting down command to the manager server one. It again contacts to the admin server which contacts to the node manager which gives the shutdown properties to the manager server instance, but where it is going to runs all the server, all the process generally in the operating system with the some process ID. Node manager which is going to be contacts to the operating system generally which is going to be runs the server with the some process name. In the sense, some process ID. By using the kill command, it is going to be kills the specified process about the manager server instance. Once it is going to be killed successfully, generally that manager server which is not running, and which sets down successfully using the node manager. This is the process how we are going to be setting down the server instance. Then what are the types of node manager versions which are available in the WebLogic server? There are two types of node manager versions which are available. So one is Java based node manager, second one script based node manager. What is Java based node manager and what is script based node manager? So Java based node manager generally runs within the Java virtual machine process. It can run both in Windows and as well as the Linux operating system. But even security wise also it has providing high than script based node manager. Script based node manager generally which runs only in Unix or Linux systems, and which may have the less security than comparing with the Java based node manager. So generally who will decide what kind of node manager version we need to be used, which defines WebLogic server platform, and most of the cases we will use only the Java based node manager only. This is about the node manager versions. Then after that what I need to do, what are the important points about the node manager generally? See, node manager, each node manager, it can be outsourced to the job of monitoring, and automatically it is going to be restarting the failed WebLogic server instances to the node manager. Because generally node manager, it is not an internal process, it is an external process. More than one domain can use the node manager, and each domain will register with a node manager using the logical name called machine. I already told you, node manager which is depend on the machine. What is a machine generally? Machine is nothing but it's a computer name which is going to be host the WebLogic server instances. How you can able to configure the machine? Log into the admin console, expand the environment node, click on the machines, click on new, provide the machine name WLSM, that is my machine name, and click on next and click on finish button. I configure the machine. So next what I need to do after configuring the machine, I need to be configure the node manager. For configuring the node manager generally, which requires the node manager.properties file. Whenever you are configuring the first time, this file was not available. For that reason, we need to be start the node manager. And for that, what we need to do, go to the following path and check it. This is called this is called node manager home generally. Under this, we can call it as node manager home. So it does not have node manager.properties file. Next, what I need to do, go to the following path. Go to under this path, generally under this path which is going to be available the node manager. See, in 11G, we don't have the shutdown script for the node manager. We need to be grab the process ID and we need to be kill by using the kill command. From 12C onwards, which we may have the stop script also regarding the node manager. I started. Important interview question. What is the default node manager port number? 5556. See, this is it is going to be generating the node manager.properties file. And what is the default port number for the node manager generally? 5556. So what I need to do generally after I started this one, let us see what is the default port number 5556. Able to see? Let's we see. Go to the following path and check about the files actually. So under this path, which are going to be generates all the node manager related files, even node manager log also, which is available under this path only. Open the node manager.properties file and you have to be edit the following parameters. Secure listener generally, by default it is true, make it false. And stop script enabled, by default it is false and you can make it true. And crash recovery enabled, by default it is false and make it true. Start script enabled, by default false, make it true. Press escape, save and exit. Then after that, next what I need to do, go to the admin console. We need to be configure again node manager. Click on the machines, click on created machine and click on node manager and select SSL2 plain and which quite common. Click on save button and click on servers. We need to be add servers to the node manager. finish. So I added two servers generally. Just hang on. Hello? Hello? Oh no, half an hour. Right. So all right, after completing this, generally what I need to do, I added servers into the node manager generally. So then after that, what I need to do, I completed the configuration part, click on monitoring. Generally, I need to be talk about here. So click on refresh. So generally, this should be reachable generally. It is not in a inactive. So it should be in an inactive mode generally. So what I need to do, I need to be bring into the active. So go to here, I need to be restart the node manager again. Press Ctrl C and dot slash start node manager dot sh. So it has going to be starts actually. So click on refresh button. Still it is starting actually. See what will happen. It is going to be telling so SSL and 6. For that, what we need to do? So we need to be whenever you will get that one. What I need to do? I just go to that environment here. Click on the servers. So click on the admin server. Click on SSL. Go to advanced. Whenever you'll get such kind of uh, rename the hostname verification. None actually. Click on save. That you have to be done for remaining servers actually. Hostname verification. You have to be make it as none. Click on advanced and go to this one and click on finish button. So then after completing that, I'm just press controlling dot slash start node manager dot sh. It is going to be starting. Go to here mission and node manager name and monitoring. See this time what will happen, you will be able to get once it is completed here. I need to be reboot to access those things actually. Go to here dot slash start weblogic dot sh. Slash home slash linux oracle HCL home user files domains HCL domain bin dot slash start weblogic dot sh. Right. So go to here. What I need to do? I need to be start the right? So which gets actually go to here. Why we need to be restart? Actually, those are non-dynamic changes. Then only it is going to be fix those changes. See here, click on monitoring and click on node manager. This time it is going to be reachable. Then after that, awake enable to test whether node manager is going to be configured successfully or not. Click on here. Click on the servers which I added into the node manager. Click on the control and click on start. See, this time generally what will happen, it won't get error. The request has been sent to the node manager to start the selected servers. Starting task in progress actually. It has going to be starts using the node manager. Like that, whenever you start the servers using the node manager, it has going to be detects automatically, and it has going to be, whenever it get failures, automatically it has going to be restarts. See, for setting down the node manager, we don't have the script. Generally, we need to be grab the node manager port number, and we need to be kill that node manager. That is forcefully we need to be killed. Node manager log which is available under the domain home, sorry, WL home common, WL home common under the node manager which is available under that path generally. That is about generally which is about the node manager logs generally. Then after that, generally how we can able to start the servers? There are two methods using the WLST and as well as using the admin console. So generally preferred method is admin console. Let's see what are the commands we'll use in the WLST. Connect command generally to connect to the node manager. Node manager use the for start and stop actually. Generally, connect and connecting. So generally, let's see. Start node manager. You can start the node manager and NM generally it has going to be determines about whether the WLST is connected to or not. NM disconnects generally, which we can able to connects WLST to the node manager, and NM disconnects means which disconnects WLST from the node manager. NM start, you can start the servers in the server current domain using the node manager. NM kill generally, which kills the specified server instance that using the started with node manager. NM enroll, very very important interview question generally. It enrolls the machine on which WLST is currently running with the node manager. How we create the machine and added servers into the node manager generally machine, like the same thing you can able to do from the command line by using the nm enroll. And what are the important configuration file? These are all the important configuration files actually. They will ask what is the difference between the .log and .out. Whenever you start the server using the node manager, generally you will able to get the .out log file, else you won't get. .out .log file which contains the startup and shutdown as well as the deployment operations information, but .log file which contain every information about the server instances and its application which is targeted to that server. This is about the .log and .out. Generally, let's see what are the important configuration files which you would have. Node manager.properties file. This is the configuration file which is used for the Java-based node manager file which is available under this path. Node manager.host generally, this file which contains the list of all the trusted hosts that can be used by the node manager. And node manager.domains generally, this file contains the mapping between the names of domains managed by the node manager and their corresponding directories. nm underscore data.properties generally, this file stores the encryption data that node manager uses the symmetric encryption key. And nm underscore password.properties file, generally this file stores the username and password page specific to the node manager server that is managing the domain. And boot.properties file generally, which specifies the boot identity when starting a server. And startup.properties file generally, which controls the node manager startup and as well as controls the server automatically whenever it creates the file using the boot node manager dot startup.properties file. So generally server underscore name.addr, this directory or this file which contains all the IP addresses which are added server starts or migrated using the node manager. Server underscore name.lck means generally this directory which is generated by each server and which contains the internal user lock ID. And server underscore name.pid, this file which is generated by the each server instance and contains the proxy ID of each server. Server underscore name.state, generally this file which contains the generated by the server and which contains the server's current state. And these are all about the important configuration files about the node manager. Let's see what are the restrictions of the node manager generally. See, node manager is applicable whenever you are starting the server instances using the admin console or using from the WLST. Then only it is going to be monitors. Whenever you start the servers from the admin console, generally those servers which is not though for those servers node manager which is not monitor and which is not applicable. The servers which are going to be started from the only from the admin console or from the WLST node manager, then only it is going to be applicable. And node manager, whenever it fails, there is no backup server for the node manager. If the node manager fails, all the servers will be without any monitoring. And node manager generally which controls with the physical box only. A node manager cannot monitor outside of the box. That is the reason if our domain is going to be distributed across 4 machines, we need to be configure the 4 node managers. So these are about the restrictions in the node manager. So this completely completes about the node manager and its configurations. So in this lesson, they are going to ask the following questions actually. What is a node manager and what is the purpose of the node manager? Generally, what are the types of or versions of the node managers, and what is a Java based and a script based node manager, and how we are going to be configuring it, and what are the differences between those two, and what are the important configuration files in the node manager, generally how to configure the node manager, and what is the machine, how to configure the machine. Generally, what are the important configuration files which are available in the node manager, and what is the difference between the .log and .out, and generally what are the restrictions of the node manager. So these are the questions they will ask under this node manager lesson. Understood clearly? Hello? Node manager especially which is used to start, stop, shut down and restart admin and manager server instances automatically whenever server instances are going to be fails. Automatically it detects and restart. And also it is going to be collecting the manager or server's logs file or server's logs file and monitoring those server instances. That is the main purpose of the node manager. Clear, right? Right. So I'm just stopping here. So tomorrow what we need to do, we'll see the very important topic called WLST. Okay? WebLogic scripting tool. So tomorrow we will see the WLST. So from now onwards, all the things which are important actually. Right? Right. So thank you. So we will meet tomorrow at same time. Okay? So actually I didn't get some time. Actually I was busy with my activities. That is the reason I didn't upload the videos or recordings. Once I will get free time, I will upload. Okay? Right. Thank you. Bye.